Ryan has got an incredible story using the power of what he built to inspire others. I'm inspired myself, or guys like Ryan who are using the sort of the pain from their past that help fuel their success, and now they're giving it all away.
There's been so many rock bottom situations that have been turning points. October 8th, 2001, when I was in a high-speed chase, I violated probation. I had a huge prison sentence hanging over my head. We flipped a car, and I was proclaimed dead at the scene. I woke up in the juvenile detention facility at 16 years old, and I was like, wait, how did I get here? I was like, my life is over. Like, I am done. That was actually probably the best time of my life, man, because I understood the value of surrender, the value of like giving my life to God.
I was in almost the exact same situation as you. I was facing 25 to life myself, my man. It's a crazy story, but I just never told it. I didn't want anyone to know. I was so scared of the truth coming out about me. I thought I could go my whole life without telling the story. I was so consumed with the image. No one's gonna trust me, or no one's gonna love me. No one's gonna like me if they know the truth about me.
I realized very early on, the more raw, the more authentic, and the more real I can be, the more impact that I'm gonna have. By being that vulnerable, it gives other people permission to do the same thing.
What's your book called, man? Let's just start the show. I mean, some of that we'll probably just cut in, bro. And for anyone, real quick,
good. I love it.
For guests that don't know, let me get it in real quick, Ryan. For guests that don't know, it's a dear friend of mine, Ryan Zofay. Ryan is got an incredible story. He's out in the marketplace right now, really using the power of what he built to inspire others, teach others, the give back. So much of the people that I love and I'm inspired by myself are guys like Ryan who are using the sort of the pain from their past that help fuel their success, and now they're giving it all away. They're giving all their secrets away. So we'll dig into Ryan here in a minute, but just know, Ryan, I'm very grateful to have you on the show. You are a man on a mission, man. So I love bringing guys like you into our world, and I'm honored to know you, brother. So with that being said, thank you for the show. We were starting this whole conversation kind of organically. You were leading into your book, so don't let me cut you off, brother, and I'll tee it right back up to you.
No, you're good, man. And I also want to say thank you, bro. I'm so grateful that God put you in my life. I remember literally, like, I'm walking, I see you, and like there was this like energy and aura about you. And like we locked eyes, and literally we like stopped like mid walk, and like had like a 40 minute conversation. And next thing you know, I look around, there's like 50 people standing around us, and we're just going like toe to toe with just like you could serve like this, and you're like, oh, you could transform somebody's life like this. And it was just so cool, man. It was just instant like brotherly love, man. And so I'm grateful for you, bro. Thank you so much for allowing me on your show.
Oh, man, you're a gift, bro. And thank you. That was really fun. And it's cool to get two energies like us together. We do well together.
Bro, we were going at it, dude. It was so cool.
What people may not know, they'll know in November, is me and the kid traveled the world together. We went to Africa, been to Dubai. Like, we're world travelers now. We got a little TV show coming out. They don't know about the TV show coming out.
Right.
Man.
What I love that you said, you're like, hey, man, I just went to this event. I had no idea what the heck I was showing up for. And I rode on this Black Hawk helicopter, and I showed up, and next thing you know, it's Dean and Tony. I'm at this dope event. That's very similar to me and you, bro. You call me. I'm literally at a Dr. Joe Dispenza seminar. You're like, yo, bro, I got this dope idea, but in order for me to do this, I need X amount of people to join me. And I'm like, all right, bro, cool. Sign me up. I didn't even know what I was agreeing to. Next thing you know, I'm like, wait, you want me on a show? Wait a minute, you want me to fly to the Seychelles? What the hell? I guess I'm in.
That was so fun, dude. I want to go back now. That you're right though, but it's, I'll speak to this for a minute. Having the wherewithal, the freedom, and the strength to be able to just say yes to anything. That, number one, it's rare in life, but number two, what a way to live. Like, if you can't live this way, you got work to do. Because we can live this way, but we had to earn it. I can't just drop what I'm doing and just go to Africa. Well, you did on a dime. Didn't even think twice about it. It gave me a lot of respect for you, because you remind me of people that I like, that I admire the most, that can operate their lives that way if they choose to. And that's how I want to live. And so being around people that are always sort of in that sort of abundant mindset, it's really contagious. And that's one of the things that I try to teach, is to get around people that do life the way you want to do it, and it will change your life. And I'm on this this thing right now, maybe you could speak to this point too, is when the right person comes in your life at the right time and asks you the right question, it'll change your life. and I have my own story in connection with that specific point, but there's so much truth to making sure that your environment is conducive with the right people that are asking you the right questions.
100%, dude. I mean, it's your level of awareness, and see, the mind is a problem-solving mechanism, and so when the mind is asked a question, it directs its focus. And so if the right question is asked by the right person, it's going to allow you to see something that you might not have seen prior. And see, I've adopted a belief that anything in my life that is presented to me that can make my life better, I know that God is providing me with this opportunity. And so that's the belief that I've adopted. And so anytime something comes my way, I just go after it. I just go after it because I know it's already mine. And I know it's already mine because God has given it to me, or I wouldn't have it, or it wouldn't be in my awareness. And so to your point, like it's been a practice, dude. Like there was definitely a time in my life when I was so controlled and constrained by my lifestyle. And one of the most valuable lessons that I learned was time does not equal money. And I started to get to a place in my life where I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy back all of my time, because so many people in their life spend so much of their time to make a little bit of somebody else's money.
Totally.
And those are the 9-to-5ers. Those are the people that are in prison to relationships. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm done with that. If I can buy back more time, then I'm going to have the freedom to do what I want, when I want, with who I want to do it with. And dude, that was such a valuable lesson for me, bro, because that called me to make a ton of money. Because in order to do that, you got to be super wealthy.
Yeah. Well, you might as well go right into it, bro. You didn't start out with money, you know?
No.
Like, so
nah, bro, I was poor.
rock bottom, I find rock bottom for some of the best people I've met is where a lot of the superpower in the person today actually comes from. It comes from the lows. One of the sayings I have on the show that is common in this Man on a Mission show is you can only go as high as you've once been low. And, you know, your willingness to sort of explore the value of the low and sort of help let that fuel the high as it leads you to purpose and mission. I would argue it may not start, for most people, it doesn't start with purpose and mission. They're just trying to get out of hell. They're trying to prove they're not a piece of shit. They're trying to leech onto a desire to become somebody that usually is the first fuel out of the ashes of the hell they've been through. And then it gets, hopefully, if you do it right, it'll lead you to this beautiful place that you and me are both at today, and that is with purely mission and purpose as the guiding force. But it didn't start that way for you. I'm inspired by your story. Do you mind sharing it with our audience?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And to the depth of your healing is to the depth of your ability to impact others. And so to your point in regards to how low somebody goes is to the height of their capabilities. And you know, there's been so many rock bottom situations in my life, man, that have been turning points. And the first major one was October 8th, 2001, when I was in a high-speed chase. I violated probation. I literally just got out of juvie for 2 years, and I had a huge prison sentence hanging over my head. And so my friend that was driving the car was like, well, we got to get away from the cops, because if Ryan gets arrested, he's going to go to prison for 25 to life. Damn. And in that time when we were running, we flipped a car, and I was proclaimed dead at the scene. I was trauma-hawked to Delaware Medical Center, and I woke up in the juvenile detention facility at 16 years old. And I literally remember like it was yesterday, bro. I was like, I had my head on the table, and some kid slapped the table and was like, hey, it's dinner time. And I was like, wait, how did I get here? Like, it felt like the whole thing was a movie, bro. Wow. And then I wake up and I'm like, holy crap, dude, I'm literally in juvie. And that was the moment when I was like, dude, my life is over. Like I am done. Like, the judge told me I've already spent 2 years in here. There's guys that are in juvie with much less crimes than I have that got a lot more time than I had. So I was like, I'm done, bro. This is it. The end of my life is over. Bro. And so that was like the first major blow for me. Yeah. And but what I'll tell you, dude, that was actually probably the best time of my life, man, because I understood the value of surrender. I understood the value of like giving my life to God, because the only way that I was going to get out of that is through God's grace. And because I believe because I started to surrender to him, and I said, you know what, Lord, like, use me. I'm your vessel at this point. Like, there's nothing else I can do. Like there's nothing humanly possible that can get me out of this.
Right.
And bro, he worked magic for me, man.
Wow.
He got me out of it, and it was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Got chills, dog, hearing that. You probably don't even know this about me. I'm only, for the first time in 20 years, revealed this, but I was in almost the exact same situation as you. I was facing 25 to life myself, my man. And
Wow.
and I had a probation violation, and I thought I was going to prison for 25 years. And it's a crazy story, but I just never told it. I didn't want anyone to know. I was so scared of the truth coming out about me. But that was when I got shook into the version of Eric that kind of exists today in that moment. And I thought I could go my whole life without telling the story. I once I started getting good and healthy, the gym was like my saving grace. I have all the stories of how I got to a winning human. But I just thought I was going to murder that guy, never talk about it again. Because when I was on probation, I was working with a DEA. No one knew. It was all secret. My parents didn't even know. Nobody knew I got in trouble. Nobody. For trafficking kilos of cocaine. Don't ask, dog, because it's so dead. It's so dead in me. But when you tell that story, it's kind of crazy that you don't even know that I have such a similar story myself. But I hid from it for so long till now. Now is the first time I'm going to start revealing some of these truths. Number one, before you go further, I just want to sort of reveal sort of the power and the courage it takes to sort of reveal the truth of who you once were and all the ugliness that comes along with it, sort of the depths of it. I was so consumed with the image and and willing this new version that I couldn't even go near that. Nobody knew. Why would they know? Like, I was like, it's so embarrassing. Right. Like, no one's going to trust me, or no one's going to love me. No one's going to like me if they know the truth about me. At some point, your story obviously continues on, but you had to come. Maybe did you ever have that confront sort of that reality of that, the revealing the truth to the world, or did you also try to hide that story once you got out of it? Or am I foretelling a little bit here?
No, I mean, you're accurate, dude, and I think that's actually when I really started to like step into my essence, and I really started to use, as you mentioned, like your pain for power, or your pain for impact.
Fuel.
And once I realized, because, for me, about 5 years ago, I made a decision that I want to be a transformational communicator. I want to facilitate change. I want to speak on some of the biggest stages in the world. And as I kept getting coached and as I kept impacting the community, I realized very early on, the more raw, the more authentic, and the more real I can be, the more impact that I'm going to have.
Wow.
And then I started to see the shifts in the audience, and I started to see the shifts in people. They would come up to me after my talk and be like, dude, thank you so much for sharing that. And what I realized early on is by being that vulnerable, it gives other people permission to do the same thing.
Sure.
And I believe that's the core of leadership, right? It's like going first, letting people know it's safe, because so many people are scared, dude. They're literally frozen by fear. And so when somebody can stand and is the representation of what you want to be like, it gives them permission. So then I realized, well, shit, like I have to do this. Like, this isn't about me no more. This is about the people that need permission to actually share their story.
Right.
And that's what I love about you. I think the first time we met, you talked about, you created a community where you are calling people on stage to share their story. So I know exactly what you're doing there, and I think it's amazing, bro.
Yeah, speaking of that point, I think I'm building a keynote right now. And one of the places I think I'm going to start the keynote is with Ed Milet, because he was the one that really challenged me to do something I'd never done before. I've been winning for so many years where no one knew me, right? My first action after that investment, after he asked me the right question at the right time in the right place, was to create Man on a Mission. And I was really scared. And somehow I knew that I was going to get here, but I wasn't ready to come out with it right away. I was going to continue to run the racket that had served me well for decades, bro. Like, no one needs to know the truth about me. Fuck that. I'm around all these wealthy people, billionaires, like people that I killed myself to develop business with and relationships. I don't want them knowing what a crackhead I was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would I say? I just was still dead set against it. I don't need to reveal it. No one needs to know. But somehow I'd set the seed and the stage for what was going to become probably my, like, sort of the greatest turning point in my life, was finally exposing myself the full truth of it all. But the whole year I went by listening to other people's testimonies, and the whole time knowing that I hadn't revealed mine. It was almost like, it was very ironic, if you will. And so that's why it's really cool to be near you. And I felt like I wanted to share this with you, but because it took me a lot of courage to do this. I can't even describe why, and it's because I built so much scar tissue around nobody can know my past. Nobody. And again, like, it's just crazy to me how much effort I went into being perfect. But I would argue it got me really far in life, man. It did. I became a fucking winner.
Sure.
I don't know. Wow.
It's interesting, bro, because dude, I resonate with it. And I also echo what you're saying, because if your life is working, you're like, well, my life's working. Like, why do I need to change anything?
Thank you.
Like, why do I need to alter what the heck's going on?
Sure.
And what I realized, dude, is my fear of sharing those stories is directly impacting my ability to heal.
Totally.
Because if I'm afraid to share something personal about myself, then that means I don't have peace with it. That means that there's a part of me that I haven't gained acceptance on. And so once I realized, bro, that like I have to do this to heal, because if I can't sit here and be real with you, if I can't sit here and say, hey, I've done some shitty things, man, I'm not proud of. And if I'm worried about you judging me, or if I'm worried about you creating an opinion about me, then that means I'm not okay with me. But as soon as I get to the place where I'm like, dude, like, I'm not proud of that, man, and I'm going to share something with you that was very difficult for me, and then you share it, bro, they're going to be like, holy shit. And then if they judge me, then you know what? They're not meant to be in my life anyways, man. Because, you know, I have an unshakable belief in God, and I believe that God favors the brave. I believe the universe favors the brave. I believe leadership is all about being brave. And so once I started to like adopt these meanings, I was like, dude, I have to do this. And that was the leverage that I needed.
It's funny, man. I'm like right in your footsteps, which is so beautiful. That's why this conversation selfishly is kind of for me, even though I know it's helping so many people, is because I know I'm like right sort of in the wake of all some of the moves you made. It just was
great.
Bro,
I just want to tell you something, Eric. I meet a lot of people, bro. Like, no bullshit. Like, I meet a ton of people, as you know. There's very, very few people that have impacted me like you. And what I know to be true is we're mirrors of each other.
I know.
I feel your tenacity. I feel your strength. I feel your courage. You are so bold and brave, bro, that like, I love you, dude. And I know I sent you that voice note. I was like, dude, I love you, because I truly do, bro. You're a rock star, man. And it's just so cool to see what you're doing. You inspire me. So like I'm here for you, bro. Like, I flew to the Seychelles for you. Like, I signed on the line for you, bro. Like, you're the leader. And when I see somebody with that level of boldness, dude, I will always stand by your side.
Man, we got to share a stage together sometime, man, and let these stories sort of intertwine, because they're so uniquely similar. But I wonder how many Ryans and Erics are out there, some young kids that are lost, and they're making terrible decisions, man. They just need to hear our message at the right time. And here we are, ready to bear our souls to the world. So I think our journey is just beginning, and I think the power of us on our own and collaboratively is really dangerous. And it's kind of cool when you finally get to a place in life where you're not afraid of death, because death was such a great motivator to get me to step into the light. I lost my grandma, and arguably that's where Ed stepped in. Is somehow it just the forces of nature brought me what I needed when I needed it for whatever reason, and that is all divine, I believe now. But it wasn't God at the time for me. I was so screwed up, even though I had everything in the world you could ever want in life. I mean, I was arguably at the place where all the money was starting to really manufacture and happen, and here I am. And you said the word earlier, and it really showed me your emotional intelligence. Here's how I know you're incredibly smart. One of the smartest guys I know, I told him my story for the first time ever. He's one of the first people I revealed the truth of me. He's known me for a decade, and in his eyes, I'm like a hero, right? Like, he admires me, but I admire him because he's like a Jordan Peterson type. He's a psychologist that's his background, very smart. I revealed the story to him, and he goes, Eric, I've always looked up to you. You're incredible. But he goes, this whole time I've always known something about you. I was like, oh, what, Matt? Like, tell me. And he goes, somehow deep in my spidey sense of my soul, I always knew you really weren't at peace. And it's interesting. The one thing you mentioned when you said what the sort of the reflection of the part of the journey I'm at where I'm battling, revealing this dark secret of mine, is that where you're never really at peace. And it was the same thing he tapped into, is he never saw I was never really at peace. And the truth is, if I have to analyze the reality, I wasn't at peace. Like, not at all. But why I was okay with not being at peace is because look at all the action around me, motherfucker. Like, that's that. Right. The reason I say it like that, it's almost like I have to dig so deep out of my soul to be courageous. I need that gym, that flow state. I need that sort of like window of time where I am courageous and I'm not a little weak man. And that's what got me into bold actions, because the fear of inaction was almost like a representation of who I used to be. I would attach who I used to be to inaction. Oh, that's weak Eric. That's little Rocky who's a bitch. So I'd have to overcome that with a system. My system was sort of becoming bold in the action, which led me to a lot of money, led me to a lot of risk, a lot of great relationships. But it didn't do it in a way that was purely authentic, but I didn't see a reason for it to be. They don't need to know what a weak guy that I murdered a long time ago is. All they need to know is who the fuck I am now. And that is such a gift for action itself. And I think arguably there's a lot of lessons I could teach just through that process, but it won't lead you to the one word you just tapped into. It doesn't lead you to peace. It leads you to crazy money. Maybe, yeah, maybe you could be Michael Jordan with this mentality. Maybe you fucking could. I'm a savage and I know the value I bring to every room I walk into. But how crazy that I got a thing called Man on a Mission where we step into the light and reveal our truth to the world. And I have never even told my story. Isn't that ironic in a sense? But you guys keep calling all these wonderful men I know and keep calling it. Well, there's the peace part, Eric. You can't really have a follower in life, a true follower that wants to really follow your lead, if they sense that you're not at peace. You'll never get a real follower. You won't. Wow. The greatest impact that you will leave, and the greatest following you will gain, only comes when your heart finally gets at peace. And that is what I've always sensed in you. So you don't know this. Now I get to tell you about you. Since day one of when I met you and I connected with you and then our energies collided, the one thing you had that I didn't have, that I was clear as day, was I could sense your peace with who you were. And that was so contagious for a guy like me. So somehow it was the collection of all these great friendships that slowly gave me the courage to go seek out what real peace meant. And here I am. And it's so cool, right? It's like a full circle.
I love it.
I've been wanting to share this with you for a while now, just so you know.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. That means a lot to me, man. I appreciate that, dude. And I think something that you said is so important, dude, is like imperfect action is better than no action at all.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And you're literally like, yo, I know I want this. I don't know what this looks like, but I'm just going to take action, and I'm going to go down the road here. And because of that, because you've been brave, because you've been bold, you're calling yourself, and that's the gift of all of this, dude. Like, God puts people on our path, like you mentioned with Ed Milet, at the right time, saying the right thing, asking the right question, and all of a sudden, like, the light reveals itself, and you're like, holy crap, like, this is what it's for. And it's the same thing with me, bro. Like, I've been toying around doing this podcast, and I'm seeing you like light it up, and I'm like, Jesus, like, there's a part of me that's like, I need to get out there more. Like, I need to impact more, because sometimes I get selfish, bro. Sometimes I'm like, it's all about Ryan. It's all about like my life. And I realize like what you're doing, and I think is just so cool, dude, is like, you're literally out there in the world, like sharing your story. You're doing it, bro. So like, you have to understand, like healing is a lifelong journey. Right. And I think of it as like climbing a ladder. Like, if you're at a 6-foot ladder, there's only so much that you can see. If you climb up to an 8-foot ladder, there's more that you can see. And as you continue to climb up that ladder, there's more and more that you see. There's more and more revelation. So like they say, like, there's new levels. And so I think you're right where you're supposed to be, bro. Like, these levels of insights are intended to happen when they're intended to happen. Sure. So I think it's perfect the way it is.
Yeah. You know what's interesting too is even if you just kind of study me, both of our journeys have so many similarities. And there's value you can extract all along the way. No matter what part of the journey we were at, the truth is there was a lot of gifts to give throughout the process. Once you sort of get into the process of discipline and sort of holding yourself accountable, keeping your promises, you instantly become a person that has some sort of value for somebody, right? And again, at the end of the day, is like, we're trying to figure out at this point now how to reach God correctly. That's what I think, through action. I don't want to be a preachy guy, and I don't want to have something preached on me that makes me a believer. I find that a guy like me, it becomes a believer through action. When I start, through the action is when I found out what my purpose is. It was through the action where I found out sort of what I'm supposed to do with my life. It was never having a plan on paper first. Like for whatever reason, like that wasn't the thing that made me the believer. It was through seeing transformation in other people, how I affected their lives. It was like, that was sort of what made me a believer, that all this, it has merit and purpose. But at the end of the day, there's a million reasons to not be a believer. There's so much travesty in the world. You see children getting raped all the fucking time. Like my logical mind for many years, even after my grandma died, man, I became bitter. I was like winning, right? But like at the same time, I was almost like, how could there be a God if this was happening, if this was happening, if this was happening? And I had to come up with my own reasoning, because when my grandma died, I'm like, am I ever going to see her again? Well, then I'd ask these questions. Ryan's like, well, what's heaven like? Are they wearing clothes up there? Like I would ask dumb fucking questions. They shouldn't have. They're rhetorical. They don't need fucking answers. But it would bother me that I couldn't put an answer to what kind of clothes we were wearing in heaven. Are we wearing clothes? Are we naked? Are we just? What do we look like? Are we on clouds? Do we golf? Like I love golf. Do I get to golf up there? Like dumb stuff. Or what happens when a baby dies? I have friends where their babies passed away tragically. One of my dearest friends. That baby never developed a personality. It never developed a soul. It didn't even know its name. It couldn't communicate. Language is an arguably tricky thing, right? Is that baby just lost without her parents in heaven somewhere? Is someone looking after the baby? Bro, I know this is deep and really kind of maybe upsetting to some people or jarring. My point is, I was so lost in trying to figure out what the meaning of life was, sort of purpose, how it all is supposed to look, what soul is, that it arguably could have easily derailed me for the rest of my life. And again, the reason I think sort of incongruency, I love the word congruency. I'm really studying this word. Being at peace, sort of in alignment with your soul. I think it has to be in alignment sort of with purpose, and then your higher purpose and the connection to God, faith.
100%.
All that has to be in alignment. And again, there's probably a lot of lost souls out there, man. And again, I'm just going to only speak to my story. Somehow stepping in the light, this is my big broad point that I guess I'm building up to. Somehow stepping into the light is, even though it took layers to get to where this conversation is today, it healed my soul. And it was so fucking scary. Like, oh my, what are they going to judge me? All these people, like, and then I started thinking about all the greatest people that have ever walked the earth. And every one of them had the courage to step into the light. If we remember their names, they stepped in the light. Every person left a mark. Walt Disney, iconic businessman, name the person. Whether you like them or hate them, irrelevant. And in most cases, if they're liked, they're also hated. But it was this idea of the light. Now I'm starting to get it more and more. It's like, oh, I get it now. Like the world's revealing itself. Do you sense this at all as you start to more and more expose yourself?
Oh, absolutely, bro. And a couple things that came up for me as you're talking. I think one of the things that I've really worked on mastering was my perception of the fact, right? So the law of polarity states for every positive, there's a negative. And so that means there's good and evil. That means things are going to happen that aren't going to feel good. And again, it goes back to like my perception of the fact. Like I could give it a positive meaning or I can give it a negative meaning.
Absolutely.
And so I've really practiced like giving it positive meanings. And so I've lost my sister, I've lost my dad, I've lost my mother. And those were some of the most painful times in my life. And the only reason that what I found to be true is the only reason why it was so painful for me is because I was in conflict when it happened. See, I was like, why is this happening now? And if I'm trying to play that role, then that means I'm playing God. Damn. And that was such a huge shift for me, because the truth was, like, if I got one more dinner, one more lunch, one more opportunity to talk, one more would be infinite. I would always ask for one more. So it's really the meaning that I'm giving it, right? It's like my perceptions of the fact.
Damn.
And as soon as I got to acceptance that, like, you know what, none of us are going to get out of here alive. None of us are going to be able to really time when we're leaving. And then that was really the catalyst, bro, that was like, you know what, I'm buying back all my time. I am going to figure out how to live a life of get to versus have to. And now literally I wake up, dude, and I'm like, if I want to do this, this is what I want to do. Even if it disrupts something, right? Like I will not allow the lack of disruption in my life because I want to do something. There's something I want to do. Clearly it's an opportunity. Clearly it's available to me. So I'm going to do it. And once I started to understand that like disruption follows intention, then that's the way life is. Like it's going to change, and I can't control it. And once I give it a different meaning, I have a much different experience about it.
That might be one of the most profound things I've ever heard on this show ever. When I think about what is some of the most valuable things I could give away, even in this, I'm preparing a TED Talk right now, trying to think about, okay, what's my core message? What is the one thing? In a TED Talk, you got to get there quick, right? Trying to package up, what is the best that I could give someone? What is that thing? Like, what is the best of what Ryan could package up and give someone to help the average person win? Number one, I'm just going to ask you, what do you think that thing would be for you? What is the one thing you could give away to someone else that is probably the most effective tool you have as a human that you can state in a quick manner? I'm just curious what you would say.
Yeah, so what I would say is develop an unshakable belief in God. Like really, really, really spend as much time as you possibly can to find out who your God is, right? Like I have my beliefs. A lot of people have their own beliefs. I think that was like the foundational piece for me, because once I found God, I started to really fall in love with myself, because what I know to be true is God is an infinite God. God is an abundant God. And so once I fell in love with God and I understood that God wants the best for me, and if I take a moment in time and take a snapshot and look at Ryan Zofay, God created me, and if God's a perfect God and God's an abundant God, then that means that I am perfect. And once I got to that place of like, whoa, like I am exactly the way I'm supposed to be. God created me this way. Then there's a level of acceptance, and then there's a level of who I can show up as, because it's like I'm perfect. Right. And I know it sounds like it's a simple concept, but it took a ton of work, dude, to get there, to like embody that, to like really believe it, to really like be it.
Who had this impact on you with this? Was there one person that really helped curate the way you see this?
You know, I've been sober for 22 years. So I got sober when I was 16, which is incredible, dude. And so I think it's been a combination of being in recovery. Yeah. And I believe it's a combination of my commitment to serve God. As I continue to put other people's needs in front of mine and say yes, no matter how difficult it may seem, God reveals himself to me every single time. Interesting. You know, I met with my pastor today at 10 a.m. and I woke up this morning and I was going to cancel. And I was like whining and like mumbling under my breath, like, I don't like going to meet him. And I was like, dude, what's your deal? Like, this dude is literally taking the time out of his day just to meet with you as a friend. Sure. And it was probably one of the dopest conversations I've had in a couple weeks. And I'm like, dang, man, like I would have missed out on such a beautiful opportunity. And me showing up there was in service of God, because I'm like, how can I serve you? Like, how can I impact you? Like, he wants to grow his church. And so there's an opportunity for me to donate. There's an opportunity for me to mentor him. There's an opportunity for me to support him in his business endeavors. And I was like, man, like once I realized it's not about me, and I started to understand it's about those that I can serve. And that's the God-like mentality, right? It's like your needs are in front of my needs. Dude, the wealth, the success, everything just comes pouring in.
Game changer right there. That's like a mic drop.
Yeah, bro.
Moment. That's a bomb.
And I see that with you, dude. Like think about it. Like your intention for going on the show, I don't know, whatever, Below Deck. We went on the show Below Deck. We went on the show. Your purpose was like, I want to show the world there's a way to have fun in a healthy way. And the level of people that are going to be on the ship with us are so impactful. And I want the world to see that. Yeah. And then also, let's do a donation. And so, dude, like you get it, bro. Like you understand.
That's funny. Just for people are tuning into that thought, just to sort of round it out a little bit. That show is built around partying, drinking, drama, and it always bothered me. And I had a unique kind of rare opportunity presented in front of me to do the show or not. And at first I said, hell no. But I'm like, man, maybe there is a way to showcase the world, like what a healthy environment looks like of people having fun. It's not always built around alcohol. This whole country indoctrinates you, at least from my perspective. It is jammed down your throat, the drinking. is a way of doing business. It's a way of life. And it is literally, it's like, it's a social convention. Oh, there's a birthday party, we drink. Oh, we're going to the beach, we drink. Oh, we're doing boating, we drink. And that show embodies sort of the narrative that is really pushed down Americans' throat. These are billion-dollar industries here, you guys, that are having a lot of power and influence in the world. But what I see is alcohol ruining a lot of young children on a daily basis. When dad comes home drunk, it's a scary thing. And I love my dad, but even when he would drink, I would get so anxious. The anxiety when I would see people around me that I love drink would fuck me up as a child. They don't even know it. Again, and it's no hit at them. There's no judgment or no insult at all. It's just the reality of we don't realize what's happening around drinking that every single day. And then there's a lot of abuse that's actually happening. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of rape. There's a lot of hard things going on around it when you lose emotional control and stability. You might have a solid guy, and when that solid guy starts drinking, all of a sudden he's punching walls, and maybe he's punching his girlfriend in the face, but maybe it's only when he drinks that. Point is this, man, it's no excuse, and it's the person, right? It's not the alcohol. Point is, like, we glorify this shit like we do NBA championships. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just dude. I don't know, everything I do now is finding purpose, meaning, and opportunity in these opportunities that are presented. Can I find the biggest opportunity to take advantage of that opportunity? So it's not just saying yes to an opportunity, Ryan. It'd be like, oh, we got this opportunity. Of course we got opportunity. Everyone's got opportunity, by the way, I would argue. But how can I make this opportunity the best opportunity? And what I saw in this opportunity was, let's go on there and like not be the normal. Not be the douchebags that are rude, that are arrogant, the rich guys that, charter the big 100, 200-foot yacht, that are on there acting a fool. But let's go on there with loving, grace, kindness, and show the world like, oh, these guys are totally different. As stupid as that may be, that's how I see every opportunity. I'll look at it, analyze it, and say, what's the best I could give this situation that is unique, that is good for the world? What a fun way to live life, right?
Yeah, no, I love it, bro, and that it's I'm so aligned with what you're saying, and I think that's why we've hit it off, because it's like we're constantly looking to add value to every situation, and when you have an abundant mindset, that's the mindset you have. You're like, how can I add value here? Because you're complete, like your cup is full. So you're like, all right, well, I'm good. So let me just serve, and let me add value. And I think that's just so cool, bro. And again, I'm just grateful to be with you on this journey, my man.
Ryan, did you come from a toxic environment? So I know that you were at a young age, you were drinking, you were drugs, you got into some trouble. Circle back to me, like I think a lot of people that may be listening to this show are looking, or even on their own families, maybe looking at their own husband and their own wife or their own family, and there's a lot of toxicity that's likely sort of driving outcomes all around you. Number one, was that your reality? And maybe through your story, we can extract some gold on sort of how you started to heal yourself, on the back end of the trauma you went through.
Yeah, man. I mean, and what I learned is, between the ages of 2 and 7, and they even say it goes up to 9 or 10, your brain is developing and you're creating the model of your world. And so growing up for me, my sister passed away when I was 5, parents divorced, mom ended up in the arms of an abuser who ended up stabbing her 13 times and was hospitalized for 6 months. Yeah, bro. And it gets worse. Yeah. I wasn't with her when it happened. I rushed to the hospital right after it.
Wow. How old were you?
And so here's the crazy part, right? She is telling me that she's going to end the relationship. She's no longer going to be with the man. She gets out of the hospital. She gets back with him after being stabbed 13 times, bro.
Unreal.
Then he takes a .357 Magnum and shoots her in the neck and tries to take her life again. And she lived, and so this was between the ages of 8 and like 12. Wow. And that was literally like when I started using drugs. And so my environment was insane, bro. And those are just like 2 highlights. It was just complete chaos from when my sister died up until when I got arrested when I got out of juvie when I was 16. And so like violence and domestic violence and verbal abuse and physical abuse was a part of my upbringing. And so I was very angry for a very, very long time. I used to fight. I used to box. I used to get in fights on the streets all the time. Yeah. And it was devastating, bro. I didn't know how to treat women. I would objectify. I would look at women like objects because my mom had no self-respect or no self-love. She was a weak person, and so like I would view women that way. And bro, I've done 135 seminars where I've either facilitated or participated, and I'm well over 12,000 hours at this point of like doing deep trauma work, and I've had to heal that stuff, bro. And so that's why for me, you said like there's this thing you said, peace. Like I have a sense of peace because there's not much I haven't seen, bro. I've seen it all. And the fact that I'm like sitting here living the life that I'm living now, impacting as many lives as I'm impacting, dude, it's a freaking miracle, bro. Like there's no other way to explain it except that God is literally working in my life.
Damn.
And so you can't be nothing but grateful for that.
Wow, man. I didn't realize that we were going to unpack so much power in that one question of like, did you come from a toxic environment? That's crazy, dog. Like, whoa.
Yeah, bro.
I didn't know that it was that bad for you and for a little kid to have you're right, your neural pathways are developing. How you see the world, the framework that you were creating in your life sort of stems from like the hell that you were coming out of. If you're right, to be in the shoes you're in now, because again, for people that don't know, you're a very wealthy man. You've done very well for yourself. We haven't really got to the part where you start getting successful. We've sort of skipped around to what you're doing now, which is all passion project, I would argue, and in sort of the hell of your start. But you started really winning in life and making some money. And, I think we always want to deliver as much value on all fronts as we can. A lot of the listeners of our show are trying to figure out how to get out of the rat race themselves, trying to be financially free. How do you go from that story you just told to facing a lot of years in prison? Where's the come up start? Where's the Rocky Balboa moment come in your life, brother?
For sure. So I got out of juvie. I'm 17 years old. The judge gave me one more chance, and I was on fire for recovery. I dove into a 12-step program. I started working the program.
I was going to ask you real quick. Can I pause you there? I was going to ask you about 12-step. There was one thought I didn't want to slip. How powerful hold that thought. Don't let me derail you too much. But 12-step, can you just give a quick testimony before I lose that? I wanted to see if you would give a shout out or a nod to how the 12-step maybe connected you to God or power. Was one of the mental notes I took was I was going to ask you, did 12 steps play a part because God's so profound in your life? Was that the connection there, or was it more than that?
Yeah, so I at an early age, my parents enrolled me into a private school, but then when my sister got sick and she passed away, they couldn't afford it anymore and things kind of broke up. But yes, my true relationship was developed through Alcoholics Anonymous. And so just for reference, I have 600 employees. I'm responsible for 10, 15,000 lives a year. My schedule is completely packed. I do minimum 3 meetings a week.
Amazing.
I have a step group at my house on Thursday nights that I have 7 to 10 men coming over every single Thursday. I've been doing that for 8 years. I very rarely miss it. If I happen to be traveling, we jump on Zoom. And so my commitment to recovery, my commitment to God, my commitment to giving back to others that are struggling with addiction is my priority. Everything else is secondary. And so if the next decision that I'm going to make, if it's not aligned with God's mission, I don't do it, and that has kept me out of a lot of trouble because there's always deals, dude. You know this, bro. There's always somebody that's got a deal. There's always an opportunity. And if it's not aligned with like my purpose, with my mission, and I'm like fired up for it, dude, I would just prefer not to do it.
You had to earn your right to get there, which I think is important to note. You got to earn that, and you did. You paid your dues. You earned the right to be in this position, and now these are the decisions that are guiding you there. But I wanted to ask that because I had a feeling that was it. I never heard if that was sort of your connection, but I decided recently to read that book, The Big Book. I'm just in love, dude. I don't know why. I've decided to pick that book up at 40 years old. It's such a good book.
Bro, it doesn't matter where you are in your life, it will change your life. If you read it and you apply the first 164 pages in your life, bro, your life will never be the same again. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's cool that I knew somehow deep in my soul, I knew that was a part of your story. Okay, so pick back up where we left. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Let's pick back up.
No, you're all good, bro. So then it was just like at this point in my life, like I've seen it all. So I have no sense of fear. Like when it comes to like starting a business or trying to do this thing or whatever it is, like I step up and like, let's go, let's try it out. Cause failure doesn't really seem to bother me much because I've experienced so much of it at such a young age.
Sure.
And so I just kept trying different things, dude. And the best thing that could have happened to me was I became a commodity broker. And at the time, I knew nothing about sales. And so once I realized that like communication is literally the gateway to mega success, I was like, well, this is what I need to do. And so I literally quit everything that I was doing. I jumped in both feet. I became a commodity broker. I was literally dialing 15-cent lead cards, minimum 300 dials. And these were like hand dial. Like I didn't have the dialing system. I'm like punching the numbers. First guy there, last guy to leave. And I just read the pitch, dude. And I barely made money for the first 90 days. And I was thinking about quitting. I was thinking about giving up. And I was really frustrated because I'm very athletic. I've always been very successful at anything I've done. I was not being successful at this. It was the most difficult thing for me to do.
Wow.
And I was going to quit. And I remember my boss was like, dude, it's not for everybody. That really pissed me off.
Yeah.
I go home. My grandfather's like, you didn't go to college. It makes sense. And that really pissed me off.
Yeah.
And I was like, F all of you. I'm going to show you. So I went back in the office. And from that day, so I started December 2007, October 2008, I was considering quitting. So that 9-month stretch, I barely made any money. From October 2008 to December 2009, I made over $1 million.
Wow.
And here's the thing. I dialed the same 15-cent lead cards 300 times a day, reading the same pitch. And so you ask yourself, like, well, wait, how does the same guy dialing the same leads, saying the same thing,
yeah,
literally, it's who I was being. Like I realized that it's a numbers game. I realized that the law of averages is so important, and you can improve the law of averages once you can improve who you're showing up and being in the world.
Right. It's a way of being.
Yeah, bro. And so that was like the best thing that could have happened to me. And so like that was literally when my career took off. So I became a millionaire at 26, and I never looked back.
That is one of the most powerful sort of unique connections to winning I've ever heard. You just told a little story. You gave a lot of value in the story itself and then drew this unique conclusion and lesson out of that story about the same calls, same script, which really got me. But it was the way of being that you were showing up that was ultimately sort of the difference maker in how you created transactions. That, you're right, it comes ultimately from repetitions. Like scar tissue, people undervalue, like I always I use a bad word, surprise, I cuss, unfuckable with, sort of this energy that's around someone that's been there, done that, right? And that is it. That is literally the game of sales oftentimes, is not what you say, it's in the conviction in which you say it. It's in the energy that flows from your spirit and your soul. I get you to want to buy just by being near me.
Yeah.
And that comes from being around it for a long enough. You're right. I mean, this is about consistency. Just keep showing up. And what you described as the age-old tale of 3 feet from gold. You were just about to quit,
right,
not knowing you were a month away from becoming a millionaire. Like you're that close to gold. And that is the story of how most people win. And it's also the same story of how most people lose. So most that win might be 1%. Most that lose is the 99%. And it's the same story for both people.
Ready? And what's interesting is that those that make it just don't give up. Those that just keep digging, and then they get it. You know, there's something you said earlier that just came back to me. In life, you're going to experience pain. You're either going to experience the pain of regret, or you're going to experience the pain of discipline. See, I would much rather choose the pain of discipline, because I know eventually the law of average is going to go in my favor, and I am eventually going to get the thing that I'm looking for.
100%.
And so if you have the mindset of like, dude, I am not giving up, I am disciplined, and understand and adopt the belief of like, giving up doesn't even come into my world, you will eventually get there. Yeah. Guarantee you.
Yeah. You know what I love about your story, man? There's so many things I love about your story. And this is probably my favorite podcast I've ever done. Primarily because I'm just boys with you. I mean, we're deep. I think we're just deep friends. We're brotherhood.
Yeah.
It's just so easy to communicate with you. Whereas it's someone that I kind of know from afar or maybe met a few times. It's just a little bit different conversation. This one, we're in the weeds and we're right to this unique gold. It's really hard to expose this kind of gold. We're right there in the thick of it. What I love about your story, though, and kind of where this is landing, is like the thing that saved your life would be the thing that would actually ultimately become the business of you. And it's the thing that would serve so many other people's lives. You have a unique full circle. Your full circle is so connected to sort of the vehicle which created the freedom in your life, that you bought all this time back. You have all this sort of lessons and intrinsic value inside you, this beautiful business that the audience doesn't know about yet. But it's actually the thing that ultimately saved your life. And now it's the business of you that's saving so many other people's lives on top of what you're doing now. But take the audience where I took them, they don't know about yet. Where did this, you're now a millionaire, you're in business, trading commodities. How does this lead to what you ultimately would create your greatest wealth in the world?
So my mom ended up getting sober. She relapsed. My father was diagnosed with cancer, had a year to live, and my sponsor moved to Maryland. So my entire childhood was relived at that moment, and I went rogue. And I was convincing people, persuading people to buy something that was extremely aggressive, and just based on statistics, 9 out of 10 options expire worthless. So people essentially eventually would lose money. And I ended up getting sued by the Federal Trade Commission for $10 million. I come home to my fiance saying, I don't even know who you are anymore. I'm leaving you. Again, hitting rock bottom. But again, looking back, that was the best thing that could have happened to me. I took a year off. And this is when I was introduced to inner child, experiential therapy, and like dealing with my traumas. I went to this place called Onsite. I always give them a shout out because it's an incredible program. They're in Tennessee.
Onsite.
And yeah, it's dope, bro. And I realized what was going on, like why I was doing the things that I was doing, why I was in revenge, why I was, being greedy and selfish and self-centered and all the things.
So you hadn't healed the child inside you?
Yeah, I haven't healed it, bro. I was in revenge. I was angry, and I thought making money was going to solve my problems, and it solved it to a certain extent. And you kind of touched on this earlier, but I was miserable inside, bro. I hated myself, and my fiance literally like walked away from an incredible house, an incredible life, and was like, "Yo, I'd rather go work making $10 an hour than be next to you." And I was like, wow. Gee, it crushed me, dude. It crushed me, bro.
Damn, dog.
Yeah. And the truth is, dude, is like looking back, like I was pissed at the time. Looking back, I wouldn't want to be with me either.
She's right. You were cantankerous.
Congratulations. Like, congratulations for being bold enough to stand and walk, because it was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Wow. You afraid that any of that's still in you somehow, and that you have to fight so hard to keep that Ryan away? Or somehow I feel like the work you're doing is what weeds out any existence of that person. Serving is such a healing gateway.
100%.
You're at peace, dog. But so it's never coming back. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, dude, it's hard for me to even share it sometimes, because it doesn't even like register. Like my new body, my new cells, my new belief systems, everything that I got going on is like, dude, you used to do that. It's like, whoa. Right. And Joe Dispenza says, when you have a memory that is not tied to an emotion, it's wisdom.
Yeah.
And so I look back at my life now, and it's all wisdom. And I'll tell you, dude, so here's what happened.
Damn.
I'm sitting at breakfast with one of my really good friends, and I was kind of being arrogant. This is right around when I got sued. And I was like, yeah, bro, I'm like the best salesman ever. Da, da, da. He's like, well, he asked me first, he's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like, I'm the best salesman. I could do whatever I want. I was like, dude, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. And he paused, and he's looking at me. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, man, he's like, I want to give you feedback. He's like, see, that's where I think you're missing it. He's like, if you think about it, Eskimos don't need ice. And there's a parallel here.
Right.
You've been selling things to somebody
that they don't need,
that doesn't even need it. So you selling ice to an Eskimo would resemble that. He's like, once you start selling something to somebody that can actually change their life, that's when you become a real salesman. And I was like, holy shit, dude, bro, it crushed me, Eric. I was like, whoa.
You know, I got to slip this in there. Dean Graziosi told me something last week, and it changed my life in a sense. It was sort of a nod to what I'm doing now, and it's just a full circle moment because I'm in person with Dean Graziosi, and he says, Eric, me and you, like, which already even him saying me and you was powerful because I've always looked. Dean's an OG. I look up to him, but he goes, we, like together, we get to be in the business of changing people's lives. What better business in the world would you want to be associated with? What business in the world would you rather make money in than changing people's lives? That's how you that's how you would get to abundantly grow and fulfill your dreams in this world. And I paused for a minute and I thought about it. I'm like, dude, he's right. What better business is there than helping? We are in the business of changing people's lives. There is no better business. It's the greatest business in the world. I'm so sold. I'm going to do this till death do us part, long-term identity. I'm so sold. But I would argue that the work itself is what's changed me forever. And I don't need to worry about going back. Now, I feel like I've always been a kind-hearted. I've always had a big heart. I've always been a good kid. Even when I was failing, and doing bad things, I was a good kid. I was a good person. It would haunt me. The reason I asked you, are you afraid of that guy will ever come back? Like, do you have that sort of scarcity mindset? Like, that's just a question that I think was more redundant for the audience because I know it'll never come back.
For sure.
But the truth is when you are sort of in the early stages of this, or when you're in the naysayer sort of mindset, or people may look at you and say, the naysayers may look at you and say, yeah, it's fake, or whatever. It's like, once he could treat a woman like that, it's always in his capacity to treat a woman like that. I think sort of like, again, very important to be around environment, but that was sort of the early demons that I felt like I had to overcome. Was I was so afraid that the capacity for me, the kid that stole medicine from his grandparent, that timed everything perfect, that was so manipulative, he could come back and flex on society. So I have to be holding myself accountable to such powerful sort of self-reflections, really being powerful with honesty and truth, and sort of very, very in the action of the actions that keep me accountable to prove to myself that I'll never come back. And that's what I was keeping me in a state of like crazy action for so long. I would argue, even though I wasn't fully at peace, it's only because I didn't reveal it, but I had gotten into a state of actions that proved that I wasn't a piece of shit. And I needed that accountability to sort of always keep me in check. And again, it worked. Great value. I argue you could have gone all the way to the very top, but it's sort of in the work itself that we are doing now. That is one of the great, out of all the types of accountability actions I've done, this is the best kind of accountability action. The light. I keep going back to this point. Like in the light, you stepping in the light, me stepping in the light, this guy stepping in the light. Oh, you had all your problems, step in the light, build a brand, like put yourself out there. I never needed to do that before. So all the good actions and the good deeds, they were still under the veil in my mind of safety, because I didn't have to expose myself to the barbarians. There's something really powerful about having the courage to step in the light. And then it's that's that full circle moment that Dean sort of where all this deep reflection came in, is the business of changing people's lives likely require you to step in the light, or you're not going to be that effective at it.
100%. Right.
And damn, like this was the sort of reality, is like, this is what I will do for the rest of my life. It's almost like the 12 step, you need it till death do us part. I'm going to need this as sort of like my connection to God for the rest of my life. And whatever, 100%. This is what it looks like for me. For the audience out there, find that for you. Isn't that the bigger message? Is find the thing that's going to fully heal you, put you at peace, and give your life meaning, validity, core strength, and then ultimately connect you to God. Like, listen, it's 100%. One thing that people talk about God all the time, and I'm like, all right, that's great. Let's do actions now. What are the actions that say you're not full of shit? And that is sort of the one thing I've always leaned into, and I've been really hesitant to not be blasphemous or make sure that I am this before I say this. And that's oftentimes with social media, sort of the facades of the world might get that you could do this and not really be this. And that's, I want to be this before I even come near having the power to say it. And now I'm 100%. Finally in congruency, and I'm not afraid anymore. And I'm very powerful now. You're very powerful now. People are going to want to now follow you. They're going to want to follow me. They're going to want to get behind this power, because that's what they're searching for, is the thing that you've stumbled onto. And it's really the peace, the conviction, and the congruency. I think it's one of the most powerful words in the world. is when you were in this kind of, and that's what I think I sensed in you alongside the peace. I don't think you can have peace and not have congruency. I think they go hand in hand, but I sense that about you. And at the end of the day, this is, I think, one of the ultimate secrets to fulfillment in life is finding this type of unique alignment, no matter what your story is. 100%. But I don't know, man. Great message.
No, I love it, dude. And there's two metaphors I'm going to give that I think are just so important that I live by today. Trust the tongue in someone's shoe versus the tongue in their mouth.
Yeah.
You know, watch what they do. Don't hear what they say. And that's so important because it doesn't even matter what people say. It matters what they do. And on top of that, here's another one. So consistency makes the non-believers believers. And so if you just walk as if, be that version of yourself, eventually the non-believers will become believers.
Yeah.
And here's what's cool about this. The longer you walk as if, you're going to start to believe it yourself. And then when you wholeheartedly believe this is the new me, there's never a question. There's never a glimpse of doubt. And nobody else is going to have doubt because they're like, yo, this dude believes, he's walking the walk.
Wow,
whoa,
so
this is what it is. Yeah.
Listen, I got to go here for a minute because you went there. Like you keep unpacking gold. So fake it till you make it. I'll just say the thing, right? I thought in my own story that for the longest time there was some sort of sense of, am I a fraud in a sense? Because when I started coming out of the dark shadow, I got to recreate who I was. I got to move to a new environment, move to a new city. I got to be Mr. Entrepreneur Boy. Like I started a business. I decided to sort of be the man I wanted to be right out of the gates. I became a gym rat, obsessive. I got my health in order. I controlled the controllables. Discipline became my middle name, baby. I was fierce and I was a tiger. They didn't know a few years ago I was a crackhead facing 25 to life. No one knew. I didn't need to tell them. Fuck it. So I became what I wanted, but they didn't know the full truth, and that worked for me. Now, when I heard Ed Milet's first speeches I heard, what caught me is he said, hey, I'm a fraud. They're going to find this truth about me. I'm running a racket. Oh, my God, like, what if they know? He talks about this story in one of his earlier speeches about his car was fake. It wasn't a Mercedes. It was a car kit. It was actually Velcroed together, right? It was a Chrysler LeBaron. And he had this fake Mercedes kit trying to be something he's not. He was trying to play a party. He didn't have a penny to his name. He was trying to pretend he had a $50,000 car when it was only a $4,500 car, right? And he said, they're going to find it out. Like he had this constant fear as he got successful that what if they find out the truth about me? Oh my God. Now what I'm starting to realize, and you just gave sort of validity for, you know what? If this is the action and the pathway for you that's leading you to better actions, better thoughts, better mindset, better self-belief, then fucking lean into it. If that fake it till you make it's the game, baby, I don't give a what the name. You know what? At the end of the day, if it's leading to better actions, better self-belief, and it's getting to a version of you that one day is actually going to be the thing that you always wanted to be, that you pretended to be, then that's a better path than the opposite. Than this, so there is a game here that is worth looking at, but you kind of just said it in a sense. You almost gave sort of a nod, like a peaceful hand on the shoulder to the kid that's playing this racket. At the end of the day, this won't be the be-all, end-all. Sooner or later, you got to actually become it, buddy. But if you dress in the parts working for you, if it's giving you a better sense of peace, that you're headed the right direction, then keep going. But then your words of consistency were the most powerful. Right? Just don't stop, because sooner or later, they'll respect you for it. Sooner or later, you'll respect yourself for it. And sooner or later, it will be true. That's so good.
100%. And I love it, dude. And what I've noticed is that people that are in that mindset typically don't feel like they're qualified, right? And so they have this thing that you hear, imposter syndrome. And so it's crazy. I'll ask you, Eric. So there's two options. There's two offers. One offer is I'll give you $100,000 cash today. Right now, I'll give you $100,000 cash today. Second offer is you can go back to your 30-year-old self and give him all the knowledge, all the experience, all the insights. What's more valuable to you?
The knowledge. The insights.
It's a no-brainer. So for those of you that are out there wondering if you're faking it till you make it, you're qualified. You just got to go out there and find the person just like you that's 5 steps behind you and teach him those next 5 steps.
Exactly
that makes you qualified.
That's right.
It makes you qualified.
You're right. And you know what? And this is one of the things that was big to untrap for me. And this actually gave me a lot of strength in pursuing this as an option. Is thinking I haven't done enough yet. I need to do more before anyone will listen to me. I got to do more. And the other part of that is, well, if they knew this about me, they won't love, respect, trust, or all the things that we've already talked about, right? Now, there's two parts to this. So I haven't done enough. The reality is like, well, you've done enough. If you've done enough more, if you've done 5% more than 1,000 people, then you are qualified to help 1,000 people. Because even 5% or 10% better than 1,000 people is actually, you're probably better suited to help them than a person that's 1,000% ahead of them, because you're closer to their pain points. And if you just got through one of their pain points, you could probably be more effective than someone that's light years ahead. More likely, you'll be more affordable. So again, like, the point is no, you can matter right now, motherfucker. You're just not thinking correctly. You don't understand how it all works. And the other thing is, the thing you're hiding from, it actually is what qualifies you most. It puts you as a more reliable resource for someone that's going through the same pain that you went through. But if you're hiding it, you're not going to expose yourself to the people you should be helping. You're hiding and trying to pretend to be something you're not. Well, again, if that's working, great. But there's probably a fuller version of that setup that is going to expose you to more people to help. And that is revealing the full rack. And I wish that was what I would tell myself earlier, is don't hide so much from this shit. Don't be so embarrassed by it. Don't be so afraid. You know, I don't know where I got these early thoughts. Well, what if I want to go into politics? Dumb shit. These are excuses. Like, what? Like, what's so stupid? Like, no, man. Like, every lie I told myself about why I shouldn't expose my truth that kept me hiding for years. Again, though, it's like at the end of the day, somehow every step of the way for you, for me, and for the thousands of people that are out there right now that are going through similar problems, it's all valuable. It's all a gift. And that is the bigger point of your message, I think, is that everything is a gift. Every 100%. Thought, everything's got a silver lining. And I would argue that every failure is your greatest asset. It's the thing 100%. That makes you truly valuable as a human.
Sure. Yeah, and there's a law of relatability, right? Like when you're able to lean into that, the pain and really share that, you are able to impact others. They're able to relate to you. You are closer to giving them the solution to their problem, as you mentioned. And if you spend more time impacting the people that you do relate to, impacting the people that you are qualified to impact, you're going to learn. You're going to enhance your skills. Every single time I sit down and help somebody, even if there's somebody that's 5 steps behind me, and I learn more about myself, I have more insights, I have more awarenesses, and then all of a sudden I'm elevating my game, and every single time I show up as that version, next thing you know, I'm learning more information, and I hear something that I didn't hear from somebody. Like right now, I'm learning information from you. Like I've heard slay dragons 1,000 times, but being around you and hearing you say it, I was like, okay, this is real. Like I need to like look at my life and see what dragons I get to slay. So cool. And so, yeah,
I got to show you just real quick, because I know we're coming up against our time. We're probably a little past. Thank you for doing this, Ryan. There's so much. I love you, bro. We got to do a 2.0 somewhere, because we didn't. There's more here, but I got to tell you a quick dragon story. So I got this community, right? I kind of combined it with this like legend in this female in self-storage. She's got a massive community. Her coaching business is doing like $500,000 a month in sales, all passion project stuff for her too. And it just led to this super dynamic woman, kind of shy, quiet, but I collaborated with her with this group, and she brought a lot of people into this group that have no idea who I am. And we just decided to collab on this project. So I got exposed to like hundreds and hundreds of new people all in one spot, right? One shot, quick shot, right? And somehow I start talking about my mission, and I say, I wanted my mission to be a picture. And I show the picture of my mission. It's this ugly dragon and this guy that's pulling out a sword. And I gave meaning and explanation to this picture. And so we're in this group now, and we decided, hey, why don't we keep the energy going? Let's keep this group together in a WhatsApp group. And we were all going to show up to the Dean and Tony Robbins challenge together, like this whole group. And somehow after I told that story about dragons, and I gave meaning, I built this unique connection of what other people can use as a dragon in their life. I talked about ancient Greek mythology, why dragons were such an important image in mythology from the past, and how dragons guard gold. And everything you want, you have to fight through dragons, especially if it has demand or value. You want the gold, but you don't want the dragon. It doesn't work that way. Just like there's no such things with time without pressure. So I gave this meaning. Every single person on that Zoom call changed the name of their Zoom to have the little dragon emoji in front. And we all show up to this Tony Robbins thing with all these little dragon emojis everywhere. And I don't know why it was just such a magical moment, but I'll tell you what, man, dragon means a lot to me, and it's because I give it meaning. And what I realize is other people can sort of take a framework that's important to you if they've never heard it and make it important to them. The ability to communicate and influence is everything. You know, I didn't realize this all those years as I was hiding. I didn't have a framework to help other people. I didn't realize part of the gift of stepping in the light means you have to be effective with your words. If you want to help other people, it's more than just doing it. That's important. But now you have to create a framework to effectively communicate to some other person how you did what you did. And that's what really challenged me. What are the frameworks that work? I never even considered this stuff, bro. 10 years of being a leader and only serving people in my organization just so they would make me richer, make me better. I wasn't really trying to think about how to get everyone else to go win at every level on planet Earth. But I'll tell you what, man, like, the power of the light, the power of exposing yourself. There's not one reason I can find where I wouldn't challenge anybody, no matter who they are, to do what we're doing, to help people, help humanity, make things around you better. Everything you touch, make it better than you left it. Everything you touch, make 100%. It turn to gold.
I love that.
What a gift, right? That's cool, man.
I love that. I love that. It's so powerful, bro. It really is, man. And I love it, dude. I love what you're standing for. I love what it's about. And I think this has been incredible, man. I think it's so courageous to, well, the human mind is like confused, right? Like there's so much things going on. And if you can create like a simple frame that somebody can digest, that they can actually see themselves in, it helps them move forward. It helps them advance in their life. And I think it's so cool because when I got it from you, like it really anchored, and I was like, man, like this is just a worthy opponent. Like this is just my dragon that I need to slay right now. And it's being presented to me because I'm capable of slaying it. It might be the biggest battle I go up against in my life, but who am I becoming as I approach this challenge? And once you get over it, the level of fulfillment and joy and excitement is incredible, man. Yeah. So yeah, this is great, bro. 2.0 for sure, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
I love you, dog. This is so cool. Hey, where can we send this audience if they want to love on you, follow you, support you, give you gifts? Where can we send them?
Yeah, so the easiest is just go to my Instagram handle. It's ryan.zofay, Zofay. I'm sure he'll leave it in the notes. And guys, share this. You know, to give back, to make a difference. Share this. There's somebody out there that needs to hear this message. Yep. Eric is really making a difference in the world. He is a world shaker. And so, again, bro, I love you, dude. I'm so grateful that you've invited me on your show, dude. I can't wait to continue to see where this flourishes.
I mean, what a gift you are, Ryan. And I would concur with everything you said. And I would also just add to this, if you guys are not following Ryan, please follow him. Ryan's one of the most incredible people in the world. And if you just heard the podcast, you understand now. And you see what I see. Ryan, thank you, man, for everything you do, brother. I love you. I'll see you soon, for sure.
Love you, brother. Right, see you soon, my dude.
I'll see you, buddy.